Hey, I'm T.A. Charlie, and welcome to the Road to Concord with Professor Joe Bakanovic. Homeroom is on Rumble. You just go to Rumble and search the channels for the Road to Concord. It's one word. When you find it, you go ahead and you click follow. It might mean you got to set up an account, but it's fast, it's easy, it's free. I did it, you can do it. For those technologically challenged members of the class, you can also catch us on Facebook and YouTube. After the show, it's uploaded to Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and BitChute. Just look for The Road to Concord. You can go to the blog page, that's theroadtoconcord.com. That's where you'll find all your show notes, study notes, and handouts for the class. The phone is working. If you don't know how to call in, email us and we'll think about it. Finally, you can email a professor at joe@theroadtoconcord.com. He's a little slow, but he'll eventually get around to emailing you back. This show is currently mainly listener-sponsored. If you are interested in advertising your business on the show, please email us. With that said, we ask for your participation on a value-for-value basis. If you find our show of value to you, then you provide an equivalent portion of your labor and treasure through the donate link on the Road to Concord blog page, the show description on Rumble, and in the comments on the other streams. And thank you to all of you who have and will support this show.
Good morning. Welcome to the Road to Concord. Today is Monday, July 13th, 2026. I am your host, Joe Bakanovic. We have a little bit of an upbeat show today. And it's probably because I have discovered something that it's a wonderful discovery. It's an amazing discovery. I'd forgotten all about this. I once knew about this, but it's called rest. Not just sleep, real, genuine rest. It's amazing what it's like to not feel tired, even at my age. Well, I'm not that old, but I'm I'm younger than that boomer over there, Charlie, but still feel old sometimes. But anyhow, um, took a couple days off to just hang out with family, rest, and I feel really good. It's kind of amazing. Okay, anyhow, I want to start off with the World Cup. And there's been an amazing phenomenon that's sweeping the internet right now, especially on social media. You may and may not be aware of it. That boomer over there, Charlie, isn't. We'll fix that later. If you're not aware of this, you have a homework assignment. You're going to go on Facebook or preferably YouTube, because that's where it's easy to find. And you're going to look up Europeans react to America World Cup or something like that. The videos of the Europeans coming over here and encountering the United States for themselves has been amazing. Even the negative ones are positive. The most negative of these videos I could find is two young ladies telling us that Americans, you don't know what it's like to be hot. You don't understand hot. He said, we've got hot in Europe. Well, not really. They're hitting 100 and something degrees right now, and that's breaking serious records, but they usually don't have the heat that we have in parts of the United States on a routine basis. What they mean is we can go inside and get out of the heat. They can't because they don't have air conditioners. Their media for years has been telling them that the United States is a horrible country, that it's rotten, that it's full of crime, people shooting each other in the streets, the people, that we Americans are mean and rude and we're not very hospitable and the food is awful. And they've just been telling them that this country is horrible. And they've come over here and they've discovered just the opposite. And their video reactions, you need to look them up to see them and watch them. If you haven't done so, do it. It's therapeutic for an American, and it's eye-opening, and it's educational, and you'll get lost in it. So be careful. First of all, it'll make you feel better about your country. These Europeaners are just absolutely amazed at our patriotism. And we've been conditioned by our media to think that we're not patriotic anymore and that patriotism is dying. And the Europeaners are coming over here and like, there's an American flag everywhere I turn. They're like, we just don't do this in Europe. Well, they've been ahead of the curve for a long time when it comes to things like this. So their patriotism has been beat out of them for several decades longer than it has us. But they were amazed by our food. They're amazed by the fact that we put ice in everything. It is really refreshing and uplifting to see our country through their eyes. And a lot of them are posting videos now. They're starting to have to go back home and they don't want to go home. There's one Englishman posted a video here just the last couple of days saying that, he had spent several weeks here in the United States and he took the opportunity to travel around the United States. And he's saying that he doesn't feel like himself anymore. He says, like, I left a part of myself back in the United States. If you haven't done so, you need to do this because it shows you so many things. It's like you should see their reaction to yellow school buses. They have been told that the United States is nothing like the movies and that that's just Hollywood. And that none of what they saw in the movies is real. And they come over here and they see these yellow school buses and they go nuts because they don't have those. And they're like, this is real. It's not Hollywood. This is real. They can't believe it. One young man, he took himself to a small southern town south of Atlanta where they still have a city square. And he's sitting in the middle of the city square recording it. And he's like, I'm in the middle of a movie set. He goes, but this is real America. He goes, I cannot believe this. And it is refreshing. And it'll make you proud to be an American, and it'll make you appreciate what this country still has. Given everything we've lost over the last few decades, we're still blessed beyond measure, and we don't recognize it. But it also showed me how to use social media to fight the beast. You see, I've been studying a little bit here about my Bible and how to better understand it. And I'm learning something that's been there the whole time. I just haven't noticed it. The Bible is about the authority of the voice you listen to. Which voice do you trust? This really explains a great deal. Do you trust the voice of God? Do you trust the voice of a demon? Do you trust the voice of other men? Do you trust your own voice over everything else? The voice of authority. That's where power and control and trust and love live. And love, to a sense, like popularity and fame in some cases. So everybody wants to be the voice that everyone else listens to. I gave that up a while back. And I realized something watching these videos about America. They weren't doing it for clicks. They were doing it as a witness. They were giving a witness to something that they had experienced that was the entire opposite of what they were expecting. And they wanted their friends and family and the people who knew them back in Europe to see the United States through their eyes, to hear their witness, their firsthand report, their accounting of what happened. They're not doing this for control. They're doing this to share their discovery, their amazement, their surprise. Some of them have flat out said straight up, we've been lied to. And they mean by their own media. Now, what makes you think our media is any different? Now, there are certain people in the world who crave this voice of authority. I used to be one of them. Remember, I'm a recovering narcissist. I'll freely admit it. Hello, my name is Joe, and I'm a recovering narcissist. So instead of AA, it's NA, Narcissists Anonymous. But these people crave the things that go with having the voice of authority. And they don't want competition. They can't afford it. They need that centralized control. They're being the only voice of authority. This is what cults are all about. No other voice of authority but the cult leader or the organization of the cult in the case of things like Scientology or Sorry, Charlie. Mormonism, Islam, and there are a whole bunch of things that are cultic. I'm sorry, but the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church, would fall under that category. So these people with their voice, what they'll do is, if they want the voice of authority, they want to be the central voice that everyone else listens to. They'll promote censorship of a sort. They cannot afford competition to their narrative. No free speech. But what happens when TikTok is turned loose and all the witnesses that are over here in the United States, 201, are saying we've been lied to? Saying that the what European media lied to us about America, it really is what you see in the movies. Now, why would that be dangerous to the Europeans? Well, for the same reason it's dangerous to democratic socialists, aka communists, here in the United States. If too many Europeans come over here and see the lie that they've been told, then they start going, well, why can't we have air conditioning? Why can't we have ice in our drinks? Why can't we have free refills in the restaurant? And they might start understanding that all this free stuff that they tell the Americans, we got free education and we got free health care. Well, it's crummy. It's crappy over there. You can die waiting for an operation that you can get today. Walk right in. Oh, this is an emergency. You're in the operating room in America. You can die waiting for that in the United Kingdom. Matter of fact, they might even kill you. Call it euthanasia. It's a mercy killing. Yes, that happens over there. There are famous reports in the UK media of people drinking the water out of the plants, the potted plants, because they couldn't get the nurses to bring them water to drink. It's not it's not all that bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to over bash it, but it's not the glorious thing that they'll tell. Well, we've got free healthcare. No, you don't. It's not free. It costs you your air conditioners. It costs you a whole bunch of other things. Things that we take for granted here in the United States. So you complain about our medical system in Europe, and then you come over here and you're like, look at all this stuff you've got. They absolutely go watch those videos when they go to Walmart or Costco. There's one gentleman, he flat tells you, he's walking around Costco and he's showing the video and he's like, my European mind cannot understand this. And there's a guy, he's a traveling Australian, and he goes to, I don't remember where he's at. He's in some sport. I think he went to Bass Pro Shop or something, a big one in Texas. And he ran into the racks and racks and racks of guns, and he's just flabbergasted that you could actually buy these things because they can't do this. And there's a couple of people go to Buc-ee's and they lose their minds. They cannot understand that that's a gas station with 100 stalls outside. And they don't understand. And they're not yet making the connections, but they're going home now and they don't have the air conditioning. They don't get the free refills. Lots of little things that you and I don't think about. Over there, they'll tell you people don't say hi. They don't talk to you. They're not, they consider that a form of respect. Just leave you be in your world, I'll be in mine. They might call that respect, but that's not what that is. That's a loss of sense of community. That's a division amongst people. And that's another one of the things that they're amazed at on TikTok is that they could be standing in a line at a grocery store and strangers will ask them how they're doing. There's several compilation of videos of where the Europeans have not been allowed to buy their food, that just Americans have bought it for them. Just say hi, thanks, glad you're here, whatever. And didn't tell them that they just paid for it. It happens in the States from time to time between Americans. But they're absolutely floored by all of this. And they haven't connected yet that that's the difference between socialism and liberty, the free market. That's the difference. Socialism cannot allow the free market to exist in a world where its people, its prisoners, can see the result of the free market. If that happens, they lose their authority. So they try to tell you, hey, look, that guy's rich. Let's take Elon Musk's money, could use it. No. They don't want to use Elon Musk's money. They want to steal it. And they want to do it in a way that you support them stealing it. You're never going to see any of it. You think you're going to. It'll never get to you. The people vote. If you're voting for these socialists, these communists, calling themselves democratic socialists, folks, that's what communism is. Democratic socialism. And they'll say, well, we're not communists. Yes, hell, yeah, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, poops like a duck.
We don't have a dump button.
He's telling me to watch my language. So I've been thinking on this, I've been watching this, and I've been realizing, think of all the examples of what the media has shoved down our throats. Everything is racist. So all white people are racist. And colored people can't be racist. That's been shoved down our throat. If you've got a problem with the homosexual lifestyle, you're a homophobe. Well, I don't necessarily hate the person. I hate the behavior, the lifestyle. I hate the culture. I think it's, same thing with pedophiles. Say, well, it's all love, Joe. So they've been trying to normalize pedophilia. If you don't like the trans community, well, now you're a phobia and a hater. If you've got a problem with Islam, now you're a racist and a hater. These are the narratives being shoved down our throats. There are other narratives. COVID's going to kill us all. You got to do this, separate, lockdown, 6 feet, blah, 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 blah. You can't go see grandma. She's dying in the home, whatever. Got to get jabbed. You need your jab certificate. Otherwise, you lose your job. That's all narrative. Where did the flu epidemic go that year, 2020? Wasn't there. It didn't exist. Go back and look at it. We didn't have the spike in flu. We had the spike in COVID, which is flu. And they lied to you. And you believed it. Because you believed the voice of authority. But that's just it. It's not the voice of authority. It's the voice you gave authority to. It's the voice you choose to listen to. Socialism will sell itself as altruism and morality and justice. Communism is just the same thing. It puts itself forth as the better form of socialism. Man-made Eden. And then you got this push for reparations because of, everything is racist. So what you want to do is you want to take money from people who never owned a slave and give it to people who have never been slaves based on a lie. I mean, it's gone from black people made this country to black women made this country. I mean, it's insanity. I'm not dismissing the crimes of the past. Don't get me wrong. But there was a reason that slavery had to end in the Western world. And it was economic at the heart of it. The Industrial Revolution ended slavery. Even if we hadn't fought a civil war in this country, it would have ended slavery. And the founders who wrote our Constitution knew this. They understood that slavery could not be sustaining in a prosperous, industrious, growing nation, a nation that's starting to industrialize. So the idea that slaves made this country, no, that doesn't hold up to objective reality. But this idea of taking from one and giving to another and calling it justice, that's a false narrative. We have false narratives built around illegals. If you've got a problem with the influx of illegals, well, that's because you're a racist. If you've got a problem with DEI, that's because you're a white racist, because DEI is racism. If you've got a problem with social justice, you must be a racist. It's all lawlessness. All of these things, these are narratives of lawlessness. They don't work in the real world, in the world that the Creator designed. So social media is literally the Orwell's vision of 1984, especially when you marry that with the fact that your smart TVs are watching you back. A lot of them have cameras in them. They watch you watch them. And those cameras can be uplinked to the internet. People can sit and watch you in other parts of the world and watch you watching your TV. They'll tell you, well, that's cameras there so the TV knows when nobody's watching it, turn itself off and things like that. But they can map your house using Wi-Fi and all sorts of things. The flock cameras that are coming out now. This is all about control, physical control now. But your social media has been used to isolate you individually. And that creates a false reality. And if you're in a false reality, that makes you easier to control. You can be gaslit very easy. I can lie to you about things that you know are true. For all I know, the Mandela effect is an intentional social experiment being conducted in the wild. And I'm starting to think that's exactly what it is. I'm not easily gaslit. I've got a fairly good memory for things, and I can remember some of the things I'm being told never happened. Joe, the coordination that has to be, yes. And I know that coordination is possible today, thanks to Woodrow freaking Wilson and to the unclean spirits behind him. But I'm thinking that there are a lot of things in the world today that are social experiments being conducted right now in the wild. These things are all artificial. They're not real. But the social media in the world we live in now make it easy to think they're real. And that puts you in a world where there's no truth, no objective truth. And where there's no truth, there's no peace. There's no peace or tranquility of the spirit or the soul. And where there's no peace, there's no true love. And we will not all agree because we all are being given a different world. So when you don't agree and there's no peace and there's no love, there's no community, there's no sense of belonging, there's no sense of unity. In other words, I cast everybody free. And I don't mean free as in liberty. I mean free from the anchor. You're all drifting rudderless without a compass or an anchor in a tumultuous island. I mean, storm or sea, rather, excuse me. And then comes along the World Cup. And this carefully crafted, expensive European lie about the United States just falls apart. Narrative is destroyed by the most authoritative type of voice known to man. It's not God. We ignore him all the time. It's not government. Large part of the people ignore government. It's not the media. There's a great number of people who ignore the media. It's the same voice that spread the gospel message. The individual witness. Not preaching for fame or notoriety, not preaching for being liked, just sharing their personal experience based on what they actually saw, witnessed, lived. So these Europeaners, in some sense, Australians and all, they're coming here and they're experiencing the United States and they're saying, holy cow, we've been lied to. And they tell their friends and family back home using the videos, showing things to them live. Look, it's real. These yellow school buses are real. Look, this clean suburban landscape with the mailboxes all on the line, because they're surprised at that too. They don't do that. One guy I watched last night, he says the thing he misses most about the United States is the front porch. Being able to sit on the front porch in a rocker and watch the world go by. And shows a picture of Europe, says you can't do that. You barely have a sidewalk. You got a street in your front door. Boom. House to house to house to house. You don't have a yard to mow. You might not even have a backyard. They live on top of each other. It's the world in which they are accustomed. And they live that close to each other and they don't know their neighbors. So the narrative that the media has forced down Europe's throat is being destroyed. And like I said, it explains the hatred of the free market, of free speech, of liberty. It explains the hatred for conservative ideas. And I don't mean Republican ideas. I mean classic liberalism, individual rights and liberty. These things work because that's the way the Creator designed his creation. These are the way things are supposed to work. So these witnesses come over here and they see an imperfect America, not the America I grew up in the 80s. Oh God, if they think we're great now, they should have seen us back then. Say, well, Joe, we didn't have Buc-ee's. No, we had malls. A mall's even bigger than Buc-ee's. It's all of these stores under one roof, one air-conditioned roof. The Mall of America, do you remember that? That puts any Buc-ee's you've ever seen, any Costco you've ever seen to shame. It was 3 stories tall, if I remember correctly. We have fallen and we don't even realize it. And that's the point. When you see it in play in the real world, and you know you've got to go back to the socialist world that you just came from, and you come to visit America, and you start telling your friends, they'll believe you over the media. Not always, but a lot of times. And I'm starting to realize that social media can be used against the beast. The beast created it to control you and I. We can use it to fight the beast. But it requires us to remember. We have to remember our real history and understand why our traditions are important. We have to remember how to reason, right reason. We have to remember that truth, objective truth, exists. We have to go back to virtue and honor, accountability. Use the social media to educate, not just yourself, but others. Now, that's important there. That's going to require us to become citizen teachers, something I've been trying to do. If you're going to be a citizen teacher, you got to make sure you've got a responsibility to make sure that you teach something you can back up, not just your opinion. You got to bring right reason, receipts, history. You got to tell the truth. But you're also going to have to be personal reporters. There's a Facebook page here in my Bay County where I live, a citizen reporter by the name of Bernie Thompson. Boy, does he do what the media used to do. He just climbs all up in local government's affairs, exposes them. And it actually has had some help. It's had some positive effect. And he's turned it into an income. But that's the type of thing we have to do. Each one of these people on TikTok telling the Europeans what the United States is really like, those are all individual reporters giving firsthand accounts of what they've witnessed and experienced themselves. So we need to start teaching each other, and not for clicks. Don't do this for clicks. Don't try to make money off this. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. This has to be service. Service to yourself, service to your family, service to your community, service to each other worldwide, service to God in the process. Yahweh, creator of the universe. You have a duty to the truth and to right reasoning. And then you have a duty to honor threats and then to hold the line against them. And these things can be done using social media. We can teach all of these things to our children, teach them to use social media in a productive and responsible way. Teach them to help others to learn what's been taken from them, what's been forgotten, what's been erased. Teach them to love that, to search for it, to dig it up. Teach them to share what they've discovered. That's what we do. We invite you to explore with us. We share what we've learned along the way. And we should demand the same from others, from our family, from our friends, from our community, and shun those who don't want to do this. Yes, Sea Trotter, a servant people. Yes. And if anybody would bother to read, what's it? Brain block right now. He did a big thing on the free market. No, I don't want to say Smith. Anyway, it comes down to this. He said that the thing that made America work was the Protestant work ethic. It wasn't that you were there to get rich. You were there to earn an honest living by providing an honest service or an honest good that you sold. You were there to trade money for service or product honestly. And The Wealth of Nations, I think, is the book or something like that. But that's what we've got to get back to. And we have to shun those who will refuse to or object to this. Just shun them. I know that's not easy. And publicly praise our heroes. We need heroes again. People who stand up for the ideal, who honor the threat, who are self-sacrificing, show true love to one another. That's true love. And we need to give public recognition to those heroes and encourage them, even if they're just little people. Did you see the story about that group of young men who broke into the house that was on fire and saved everybody in it? That story should be all over social media, but it isn't. If it bleeds, it leads. We want the salacious stuff, but we don't want the good stuff that encourages us to seek out and recognize the better angels within us. And then what it also requires is that we privately correct people when we see them doing wrong, privately, not publicly. But if they refuse private correction, then you publicly correct them. And if you have to, you publicly shame them, unfriend them, kick them off your social media. You don't want anything to do with that group. You need to learn to walk the walk and use social media to publicize the life you're living, to get other people to, and then share how things get better for you. You might not make as much money, but you might have more peace of heart. And you have to understand something that is antithetical to the quote unquote American way. And it's what the founders discovered. When we first, I'm going to go just a little long. I'll take the bottom of the hour break in a moment. I don't want to interrupt this. People don't realize George Washington's not our first president. We had, I think it was 8 years under the Articles of Confederation. And that was such a libertarian model, such an individualistic for the states and individualistic for the individual citizen. It was so individualistic that it failed. It had to fail because it was contrary to the way things are made. Things are made to work or function. It wasn't until the founders realized that there are certain things in which the community is greater than the individuals within it. So the federal government had to become superior to the states in certain areas. The states had to be superior to the counties in certain areas. The counties had to be superior to the cities within it, and the cities to the families, and the families to the individual. And that takes wisdom to know when these things have to be superior to the individual. This is what Spock was teaching or trying to teach when he said that the needs of the whole, the many or the whole outweigh the needs of the few or the one. He wasn't teaching communism. He was saying at times when you're dealing with innocence on all sides, the whole body of innocent people outweighs the individual, especially if everybody's innocent. So this is what justifies we've got a lifeboat, and there are too many people to fit in the lifeboat. We can't save everybody. If we put them all in it, we all drown because the lifeboat will swamp and sink. So what do? Well, you cannot justify throwing anybody overboard. That's not justifiable because that's murder at that point. You can't sacrifice 3 or 4 to save the rest because you don't have the authority to decide who the 3 or 4 are. But if you voluntarily take yourself out of the lifeboat, that's the type of thing. That's the type of thing we used to champion. That's the hero. Sacrifice self for others. That's what the Messiah did. That's how most people earn a Medal of Honor. It's what the scriptures say. Greater love hath no man than to lay down their life for another. Now, it's when it's at no one else's expense. That's what I'm saying about the majority or the whole takes precedence when there's nothing but innocence involved. Now, if you've got guilt involved, that changes things. I'm talking about that conundrum. When everybody's innocent, what do? When everybody's innocent and there is no bad actor, the whole takes precedent over the individual. In the United States, we've been taught that's not to be. Well, that's also the enemy's voice. We'll take a 3-minute break now. We'll come back. We'll finish. See you in 3 minutes. All right, welcome back. So, social media, grabbing hold of it and using it as a weapon against the beast. And in this case, beast, I'm talking about the spirit of the age and the system that's trying to destroy humanity. I'm going to do this. You do what you want to do. I'm going to do me. I am going to start paying much more attention to how I use social media than I usually do. I'm going to start using it intentionally, okay, with purpose. I'm going to start thinking about what I'm posting more than I usually do. I'm going to try to constantly remember that that logarithm is trying to influence me away from the person I want to be, away from the community to which I want to belong, away to the people I want to call my friends. It's trying to destroy my happiness, my contentment. It's trying to make me lawless. I'm going to remember that to the best of my ability, constantly remind myself. And I'm going to think, how do I post? What do I post? What should I post? I'm going to do this with a goal. My goal is going to be to bear witness to who I am to the world by the way I post, by what I post, and by the way I put my comments on it. If I share a post that doesn't quite have the truth in it, then I'll educate people. I won't just say this is wrong and then post it. This is wrong because. And I'll do this as neutrally as I can. I won't attack the person posting it. I won't attack the audience. Like, say somebody posts something about, I don't know, it's greed for Elon Musk to have $1 trillion. Say, you're in a system in which we are allowed to amass as much wealth as possible if we do so legally. And he's working within the legal system. So if by providing mankind with products and services such as Starlink, which I use, or, Tesla or X or all the other, he started, I think, with PayPal and a whole bunch of other things. All these things that all of us use every day that we don't even realize are connected to Elon Musk. If he is going to better our lives, then he deserves the reward, whether you like it or not. And I would post something about it is not greed for him to acquire the rewards that we have given him in return for the service he provided us. So when they say it's greed and we need to use his money for the good of others, I'm going to post, no, it's not his greed. He acquired it because we willingly purchased his products. It is greed to now turn around and say we want that money back. In addition to the products we bought from you, we want you to give your money back, because what you're doing is justifying your envy and your desire to steal from him or to be given without earning. You're trying to turn reality on its head. So I would probably post something like that and explaining the opposite point of view. Elon's point of view, my point of view, Yahweh's point of view. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. Whoopsie. Which inherently says he has a right to private property, especially if it's been earned fairly. What I would then probably say is, rather than worrying about Elon, why don't you focus on the politicians that have gotten to become millionaires off of salaries that will not support a millionaire acquisition of wealth? You cannot become a millionaire simply living off of $170,000 a year. It's a lot of money, but that will not make you a millionaire in 4 years like Ocasio-Cortez became. I'd say focus on those people, because that right there is an indication that somebody is making money in an illegal or immoral way. So I'll explain these things from now on, and I'll correct the wrong thinking. If I am so motivated that I have to share a post, I'm going to put my editorial on it and explain my position and why I'm sharing it. And when I see somebody doing something that I believe deserves praise, I'm going to give it to them publicly. I'll hit the like buttons, maybe even comment. Thank you for posting this. More people need to have this courage, etc., etc. Praise, especially from people you don't know, is a powerful motivator. So maybe say, thank you for posting this. More people need to do things like this. Just don't lose your focus. Stay on target. Personal integrity, responsibility, and accountability. I'm going to work on myself. I'm not trying to earn anything. Trying to live up to the ideal that I claim, in which I claim to believe. The Judeo-Christian ethic. It's what I claim. It's what I profess to believe. Well, then I'm not going to try to earn my way into heaven. I'm not going to try to perfect myself. That's not it. I'm going to say, okay, the Bible is the voice of authority I claim to believe in. Ergo, I'm going to listen to it, which means I have to read it for one thing. Not listen to pastors, not listen to idiots like me. Unless, of course, that idiot is reading the scriptures and then explaining how they understand it. That's a little different in my book. I'll listen to that because the scriptures are being provided. Gives me something to compare it to. But I'm going to look for teachers that'll help me explain other things too outside the scriptures. I'm going to look for all of this, and I'm going to hold it up against the moral truth taught by the scriptures. And I'm going to ask myself, are you living in accordance with what you claim to believe? And if not, what are you going to do about it, Joe? And I'm going to use social media to help me witness to whomsoever chooses to listen. And they can do with it what they want. In the past, I would tell people, you're wrong, or that. No more of that. That's the narcissist in me. I've chosen not to trample on the free will of another human being, or at least no more than absolutely necessary. So even when I correct, I'll do so as neutrally as I can. Say, hey, you might want to reconsider this. It's the best I can do to show the agape love I'm commanded to have for others without being ugly and personal about it. They'll probably still take it as a personal account, personal affront or assault. But I'm going to write not so much for that individual as I am for the others watching. Because I've learned that when you try to correct somebody who's sold out to doing wrong, they're not going to listen. It's the audience that can be influenced. Look at when the Messiah criticized the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin didn't listen, but the people did. I'm going to learn from the past. It's like Patrick Henry say, it's the only lamp by which I have to guide my feet into the future. And I'm going to start using social media more intentionally with a conscious recognition that my posts and my words are being read by others. So if nothing else, I won't be ashamed of what I post come Judgment Day from this point forward. I'll make mistakes. I know that. Pick yourself up, get back on track. Quit worrying about what has been. Worry about what you can do from it in the future. Learn from your mistakes. Show that it wasn't a wasted event. Social media can be a powerful, powerful tool if we just use it to evangelize the world without ever telling them that's what we're doing. Charlie?
Yes.
How's this for a Manic Monday?
Oh, this is pretty good. I actually enjoyed this one. You need to do more shows like this.
I've been thinking about trying to do just that. So your thoughts and comments on all of this?
Yes, I haven't been tracking these comments, but what you've said, I'm going to have to go look out and see what's out there. But it does, because lately I've been kind of doing a little bit of self-evaluation because, I used to be very, very patriotic, and I've kind of soured in my patriotism as of late, just because I do see what's going on around. But what you're also saying here is we need to appreciate what we do have, and that's one of the things that I also know, if you follow Yahweh, is, show gratitude regardless what your circumstances are, because, Yahweh is blessing us, even amongst all the evil that's going around us. If we are doing the things we're supposed to do, he's going to bless you. Now, that doesn't mean that things are going to be all, nice and wonderful and easy and no troubles. No, he says just the opposite. We're going to have trouble, but if we have the right attitude, even during our trouble, we can still trust in Yahweh. Look at Job. I mean,
Yes.
he was the example in this regard, of having gratitude to Yahweh, even amongst just, I mean, he lost everything, family, possessions, everything. He was basically, it was him and his wife at one point there, I believe, and that's all he had. And what did he do? Yahweh giveth, Yahweh taketh away. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. I don't know that I could do that. I hope I could, but that takes a lot of integrity, and that's what we need to strive for. So there we go.
Europeans react to World Cup America. So how can you drive here? I get a kick out of this one because, man, if you've seen some of the roundabouts in Italy, I mean, how do you drive over there?
Oh gosh, if you've driven in, oh my gosh, Italy. Oh, and also driving in Korea. Oh.
But now here, World Cup fans, Discover America, this is one here, and they say we were lied to. And then this guy here, he travels the United States a lot for the last few years. And he's actually he's basically got a ministry back to the UK saying America is not what you've been told. He's been doing that for years. Wow. Here they say they've been lied to about this one, and some of them they'll the food and the people. And this one here, America is heaven. These are Mexican fans. Then America, this guy here, he's from Korea, I think, Korea or Japan. This was amazing to watch him eating that right there. Here, there he is again on the left. That's a very popular. You need to look these up. There was there's two English guys. They're in their 20s, and they're about to eat Texas barbecue. So you got these two white guys, and this worker there, he's a Black American. They're about to take a fork and knife to their spare ribs, and he goes, whoa, stop. No, don't do that. And he explains to him, he said, just pick it up and eat it. And they're like, that's acceptable here? And he says, yes, this is mandatory to eat your ribs. That's a finger food. And he explains it to him. And it's very friendly engagement, man, because he knows they're foreigners. He's got that figured out. And then these guys, well, if you've ever been to Europe, apparently their meat tends to be on the tougher side the way they cook it.
Oh, yeah.
This stuff fell apart in their mouth. You've got to see their faces when they bite into it, man.
Yeah.
You and I take good barbecue for granted.
For granted, yes.
Okay. They're eating barbecue at chain food stores, chain restaurants, good ones, but still. Wait till you've had barbecue that was made by the guy who cooks it in the backyard that knows how to make barbecue.
Yeah.
It's like I saw they were European girls that went to a Cajun restaurant here during the World Cup, and they were having Cajun food. And I'm like, I was watching what they're eating. I'm like, that ain't Cajun food, folks. My mother's Cajun. I grew up around Cajuns. I'm like, no. So you want to eat real Cajun? I got a neighbor
that smokes me some mackerel on occasion, and oh my gosh, that is so good. I can't wait till he does another run of that.
They're going crazy over that food, but they're also amazed at how clean our cities are. And we were all told that the one lady went to San Francisco and loved it. Now I'm sure
San Francisco
she didn't go to those. You can find places where it's not
there's
so
places
pretty
in San Francisco that aren't so pretty,
but you have to see this country through their eyes. especially since our leaders are always pointing to Europe as the example we should follow.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So this is a double whammy. Not only are the Europeans finding out who we really are, we're finding out a lot more about the people who tell us that we should be more like Europe. What they're really saying is, we want the feudal system back. We intend to be your uber lords. You need to be serfs.
Yeah.
Why do you keep electing those people?
Yeah.
Well, if I don't elect him, then a vote for the freaking libertarian. You know what the beauty of electing a libertarian would be, Charlie? Nothing would get done.
Right. Perfect. Yeah. And in cases like we're in right now, that's actually
the states would have to solve the problems then.
That would.
And if you have libertarians at the state level, nothing gets done until you get to the city level.
Yeah.
Then you might be close enough to, because you only got like a handful of them, you might actually get something done after 2 or 3 years there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If you have enough local activism.
So if you're tired of the uniparty, start voting libertarian.
Yeah.
I don't like the libertarian movement, but nothing will happen. If they become the majority, nothing will happen.
But I will give them this, and you know this because I've done this a couple times. I just did it recently. My libertarian friends, they're good at organizing protests, and if the protest is something that I'm on board with, like flock cameras, that was the latest one that I was on, and even our AI joined me for that one. We went and had a nice protest. In fact, we were joined with another group that wasn't a libertarian group, because there's another just guy in Lynn Haven that's put together a grassroots effort to get rid of the flock cameras in that city, and they joined us. So we had it was the biggest turnout for a protest that I've been to. I mean, the first protest that I went to, it was my libertarian friend and me. I mean, it was two of us, but I will say this. We were protesting against, at this time they were doing the DUI checkpoints, which is unconstitutional. And we actually, I don't know if it was just our efforts, but there were other efforts along with it, but combined, we got that stopped here in our county. So these things can actually make a difference.
You can occasionally find a libertarian I would vote for president. Neil Bortz.
Oh yes,
he'd have had my vote in a heartbeat, because you wouldn't have taxes anymore, not personal taxes.
Right.
So there are things that we can do, folks. We really can. 10 would
protest again. There we go.
Yeah. So, there's another thing. This is what I'm talking about. This is where you use social media. I see people starting to say flock cameras are a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Your better argument is that they're a violation against the Third Amendment. People will say, what's that got to do with soldiers in your house? That's how the government spied on people back then.
Yeah, my sign, they actually liked my sign, because my sign said it was a violation of the Third, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment, because it's also could be self-incrimination too. So, so it's like, it violates
focus
three
on the
ways.
Third Amendment, because the Third Amendment is specifically about government spying on its citizens.
Yes. Yep.
Well, Joe, that's not what it says. Remember that book I got right over there about the notes in the convention?
Yep.
That's exactly what they thought the language was saying.
Yep.
In their time.
Yeah.
So it is technically against the Fourth and Fifth as well, but it is an outright violation of the Third Amendment, up and up, straight up, straight out. So is all the other intrusion into your life that they do online. Educate people. There's a reason they don't educate you in their schools. Do the job they were supposed to do. Use social media as your weapon. And this is going to become a refrain on this show that I'm going to come back to over and over and over again from now until this show ends. Use social media as your weapon. Just be very responsible with what you post. Bring the receipts. If you don't have them, don't post.
I'll be back in a second.
Got to screen a call. But if you don't have the receipts, find them. Ask each other for them. That's one of the reasons. That's how you use our Signal chat. Hey, I need to make a post. What's this? Mr. Zinker does this with me from time to time. He'll call me and say, okay, what's this fallacy? I know there's a fallacy here. What's the fallacy involved? And I've explained it. Okay, this is the fallacy. He says, cool, I'm going to go pick a fight. And off he goes. Find out what you need to know from each other. The half of knowledge is knowing where to find knowledge. Use each other as your references. Build communities, even if they're online. Are you waiting on me?
Oh, I'm ready whenever you are. This is Jimmy.
Hey, Mr. Zinker, we're just talking about you. I was just talking about you.
You must have started talking about me when I hung up to call, or when I left Facebook to call you, because I didn't hear that.
Yes.
You were talking about flock cameras when I said, oh, got to get in on this one.
All right. I was just using you as an example about how sometimes when you need a piece of information, you'll sometimes ask me, like, what's the name of this fallacy or what's the logical problem here? And I was telling the audience about how you did that just the other day. And when I told you, you said, cool, I'm off to pick a fight. And I was telling everybody, use each other as a reference source. I know certain people know more about certain things than I do. Call up. So when you post, you got a good reasonable reason to believe I posted the truth or I posted accurately. That way there's confidence in that. And there's also effectiveness in
Think
that.
about it this way. Why did our founding fathers opt to have 500 kings instead of one king?
Well, you can't get much. There's not much tyranny with 500 kings.
There is a greater chance and opportunity of wisdom among 500 people discussing a subject versus one demanding his will on it.
Yes. So if you've got 500 kings, Jimmy, essentially you have to talk because you can't beat each other up. Right.
That was what was in their mind. As far as, I go to you and you give me the answer. I take that and I run with it. Whenever you verify it, then I go to Google and I verify it. And I learn more about it because you've showed me where to look. See?
The half of knowledge is knowing where to find. Yep. Half of knowledge is knowing where to find it. So, and we
I got
are
a lot of support in
asset.
that fight I picked the other day.
I'll have to go find it. So, flock cameras.
Yeah, flock cameras. No, go after it on your right to privacy. They're arguing that you have no right to privacy in the public arena. And I agree. If those flock cameras were working only in the range of the moment and they were tied to a TV monitor somewhere and a policing official was watching that monitor in real time with nothing further, as if he were sitting in a patrol car, I'd have no problem with it. But see, we have a right to privacy in our persons, and that means privacy in our identity. They force us to put a tag on the back of our car in the name of taxes that identifies us. And then they use those cameras and they read that tag and they go into our personal information and then they store it to monitor everywhere we go, when we are there, and to many extents, I think, what we are doing, and that is the problem. It's not the cameras themselves, it's how they are using the cameras.
Yes.
And if they had just put those cameras up like the camera on top of the red light that's just seeing who ran the red light if there's an accident and nothing more, which I'm fine with, they have to take it to this new domain. So as far as I'm concerned now, they can lose all of their cameras. We need to forbid them because they've shown us they can't be trusted with them. Just like they would take my license if I got a DUI. I've shown I can't be trusted with it. So now the license has got to go.
Yes. And there's a lot of, don't even get me going on traffic laws. Folks, traffic laws were never meant to generate tickets. Traffic laws were meant to determine liability, to help you flow in traffic and determine liability when an accident happened for the sake of compensation. And this was all done before there was such thing as insurance. So if you were found to be at fault, you were the one who had to pay for everything. Okay, the actual damages and everything, medical care and all. We need to go back to things like that. Say, well, Joe, then people will be doing 90 miles an hour. Well, just hold them accountable. And I mean, really hold them accountable. If you end up killing somebody because you were driving like an idiot, I'm not going to put you in jail for life. You get to climb the little stairs, stand on the little door. We put a little ropey around your throat. Because that wasn't manslaughter. If you're driving, if you're driving 90 mile an hour through an area where you know you shouldn't be, that is depraved indifference. A second-degree murder.
I don't necessarily disagree with that.
It's
but
a
what
hard
we've got to be
case to
careful
prove.
there is unintended consequences,
Yes.
where you're going to start putting a capital punishment, which is an intent punishment. You understand what I'm saying there when I say it's an
Yes.
intent punishment?
I know this, and
You don't
that's
kill
what the
someone for
jury-
killing someone else, where no intent to actually kill someone can be
All right.
shown to have existed.
Well, now that's
the thing that scares me about your idea there.
well. Here's the thing: you were a peace officer, or tried to be before they tried to turn you into a police officer. DUI. Who can in this country? If you're raised here, and I'm not talking about the illegals, I'm talking about an American who's been raised here, who can honestly tell me they don't know that that's you're putting other people at risk? Can you honestly tell me in our culture now, in this day and age, that you are not aware that you're risking somebody else's life or your own by driving under the influence?
And everybody that does it thinks they can handle it.
Exactly. That's irrelevant. You think you can handle it, but you know it's a threat. So now that's not a first-degree murder, but that's not manslaughter. You waved off a known threat.
Yeah.
So where does that
I would go
come?
with life imprisonment, working
Well, now
to
I'm
pay back the family that of the life that you took, before I would a capital punishment.
Not imprisonment. Then, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to make you an indentured servant to that family for the rest of your life. I don't see where
there
the
you go.
taxpayers.
Now that I can go for.
I don't see where the taxpayer should have to pay to keep your sustenance alive. See, what we have to remember is this: our laws were written to maintain a social and organized community. If you do not want to live within that civilized society has a duty to protect its members from you. And that's not how the law of nature works. I don't lock you up. I either kill you or I put you under, something else where I've got control over you, where you don't become a burden on that society. So either we need to go back to, and by the way, indentured servitude is still legal in this country. We need to go back to something like that, or we need to start
every
putting
working
a lot
individual
more.
who has a third of their salary stolen from them before they ever get their check is an indentured servant.
Yes. Especially when it's being used to give to other people who refuse to work.
Yeah, the only thing that Lincoln changed with his war is who the master was.
Yes. Folks, this is a discussion I got to get you on, either here in the studio or just on the phone someday or on the screen. We'll talk about these things, but this is the purpose of the jury. The jury's the one who's supposed to say, and then what we do now is we make juries so stupid. No. The jury should be the most intelligent in our community. Those should be individuals who have demonstrated that they have a commitment to citizenship. This is one area. I don't know if, Jimmy, have you ever seen the movie Starship Troopers?
I have not.
All right. In there, it's a very fascistic society. It's built on fascism. But in there, you have to be a citizen to vote. And citizenship is usually earned through military service or other various ways of earning it. And they ask one of the characters in there, what's the duty of this? What makes a citizen different than just a member of the society? And he says a citizen will take the responsibility of what they do within the community for the community. That is something that the founding fathers did wrestle with. It's why at one point they almost limited the right to vote to people who own real property. If you don't have a club in it, you shouldn't be voting for it, because you're showing that you don't have a commitment to that community. This is one of the things that has been divorced from the founding ideals of this nation. We are no longer committed to sustaining the ideal that formed this society. We're no longer committed to sustaining society.
Well, this
as
is
a
exactly
people,
why Franklin said a republic if you can keep it.
if you can keep it. Yes. So these are some of the things that I'm going to actually start it. If you're going to read my social posts coming up in the future from now on, you're going to have a bit of an attention span, because this has got to be brought back. Even if we lose, we're going to be the frog that's got his head down the bird's throat and he's got his hands around the bird's throat. Don't go willingly into
Yeah.
that good night.
Yeah, never give up.
Never give
I've
up.
actually got a copy of that cartoon, that
All
big
right.
stork holding that frog. Yep.
So this is one of the,
Sure do.
I've been looking at this because people think that I'm a defeatist. I'm not a defeatist. I've just been looking for ways that I can actually do good in my resistance. And watching these Europeans post about this country not only made me feel better about the country where I've not been, made me proud to be an American again. It showed me I can take one of the beast's most powerful weapons and turn it against him. And I can encourage others and show others how to do this same thing.
Yep. Did you see the comment that I made in your thread a while ago pertaining to that?
Not
I said,
yet.
I bet we'll never see another event like this one again.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they'll be careful about this World Cup thing again.
Yeah, the overlords ain't going to let that happen again. You let that happen too much, you can come back to bite them.
They didn't see this coming. So, You got any, Charlie, you're over there bobbleheading real. You got anything to add to this? You're welcome to jump in the conversation.
I'm just listening and enjoying it, and I'm going, yeah, keep going. we do need to have Jimmy on here, because I enjoy you two going back and forth when you're talking your philosophy and logic and all that stuff. I enjoy that. Yeah, speaking of talking philosophy, Joe, you made a comment in one of your shows last week that you wanted me to take up further with you on the difference between law enforcement versus peace officers.
Yes.
When I was hired with Glenn County PD in 1985 at 20 years old, I was a kid, and a old school cop who was a captain, Captain Pittman, took me into his office. He was responsible for getting me ready to go to the academy and get out on the road. He was the one I was assigned to him the day they said, okay, you're hired. Here's your pistol. Here's Captain Pittman. Do what he tells you. Captain Pittman took me into his office, shut the door, and sat me down, and he said, your job is to patrol the streets of this community and defend the lawful citizens against the criminal element of this city. And he said, you are to do it respectfully and courteously. Your job objective is to keep the peace. And somewhere between that day and 1990, just 5 years, somewhere along the way, I all of a sudden became a law enforcement officer. And it was right about that same time they closed the police academy that I was trained in, which was a local police academy, and started sending our officers to Savannah to be trained in that police academy. And they came back a different animal.
Yes.
They came back law enforcement officers.
Gestapo.
The ones that would sit on the stop sign and watch the stop sign, and they wouldn't pull you over if you blew the stop sign. They would pull you over and write you a ticket if your tires did not physically stop moving for 1 second. You know, if you didn't come to that absolute scientific stop. Now, what's the difference in that? Well, on the Georgia State Seal, there are listed 3 of the 4 great virtues that are mentioned by Cicero in his writing on the Republic. And one of them is moderation. I said this openly in court one day. What makes us great in the United States of America is that we do not rule our citizens with an iron fist. We practiced for centuries moderation, and that's going away. We're becoming more like the Soviet Republic, where there was not only no moderation, you didn't have to commit a crime to go to the gulag for 20 years. Yeah. All you had to do was piss off the wrong person.
Well, that's happening in this country now.
Right. And so I sum it up like this. A peace officer operates within the boundaries of those laws that the average citizen does not need to be on the books not to do, like burglary. like assault, like robbery. Joe, if you woke up tomorrow morning to find that the laws against burglarizing your neighbor's house had been stricken from the books, are you going to jump up and down in glee and go out and burgle your neighbor's house?
Nope.
No, you're not. You know right from wrong. Now, never mind the fact that he might shoot you. It's, you know right from wrong. You're not going to do that. And those were the laws that the peace officer worked within the perimeters of. Law enforcement officers drop tablets and acid.
Yeah.
They enforce the kind of laws that the lawful citizen, the one who follows natural law naturally because it's in his soul, law enforcement officers enforce the kind of laws that that individual must be compelled to obey. There's a big difference between peace officer and law enforcement officer, even in the message of the name.
Yep.
Am I making sense?
Oh, you make perfect sense to me.
You're preaching my sermon that I gave on Shabbat. So good
this
job.
This is why, and even though I didn't realize it in 1995, the last day I policed, when I walked away from it forever and never looked back, I knew I had conscientious problems, but it was before I discovered philosophy, and I couldn't explain it. I told my wife, I said, I just can't do this anymore. But now that I've gotten into studying logic and philosophy, now I understand what it was that was coming from inside of me that was tugging at me. And it was because they were trying to make me a law enforcement officer, and I wasn't.
Yes. By the way, just as a curiosity, it may not interest anybody, and I'm not talking specifically to Jimmy here, but what Jimmy Mr. Zinker just explained with, what's right in your soul and everything natural, he just gave you a synopsis of Romans 1 and 2, which was written before Cicero. Well, after Cicero,
right,
but yeah, exactly. The concepts of Romans 1 and 2 were written way before Cicero. So anybody tracking that Cicero will find the same things that Moses found, will find the same things that I have got to remember. Mikantumo or something like that is a Japanese philosopher. You read him side by side with Cicero, you'll think those two were kissing cousins. I mean, You will find that objective truth in the world if you're using right reason. You will, because it's written into the universe. So it's written into all moral agents. And by that, I mean anybody who morality applies to.
Yeah. A lot of people bellyache and gripe and moan because of police officers sitting out on the shoulder of the road running radar. And they call them road pirates. And I have to defend them, at least in my state. And I drive the same way everywhere I go that I drive in Georgia. And everywhere I drive in Georgia, you will find me hovering around 13, 14 over the posted speed limit. If you don't, you'll get rear-ended. But if I cross that 15 over, then I will. I'm not paying attention, or I've missed a speed limit sign somewhere. And the reason that I do this is because I know that the state of Georgia requires them to allow 10 over the speed limit. And most every officer of every agency up here that I have ever known allowed 15 on his own. And as long as they're doing that, I don't think you really have anything to gripe about. And that's that moderation that I'm talking about. And I find it to be true. I'm in Florida a lot. I've never gotten stopped in Florida, even for running more than 15 over. They are not as anal about it in Florida, even as they are up here in Georgia. I always see Florida troopers, but I hardly ever see a Florida trooper on a traffic stop.
It comes down to...
I haven't ever discussed this with anybody before, but it really puzzles me. The Florida down there, they seem to practice more moderation than we do now. Where Florida may go a little rise on their game and fish laws.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But there's some reasons for that too. We almost destroyed several populations of fish here. But now traffic laws. Bear with me here on a minute, Jimmy, because one of the things that I've noticed is the opposite of speeding. We got a lot of tourists here. They'll park themselves in the left lane and they'll do the speed limit or just 1 or 2 mile an hour over the speed limit. And
Uh-huh.
that causes bottlenecks on our highways. Now, I wonder why people do this. They can see everybody behind them trying to get around them. They know this. Do they not realize the threat that poses is greater than the threat that if everybody's in the right lane doing the speed limit and you got some guy coming by you, there's nobody in the left lane, and he comes blowing by at 15 mile an hour faster than you're going. He's not threatening anybody. But that guy who causes the bottleneck because he's in the wrong lane, which, by the way, in the state of Florida, it says slower traffic, keep right, and it doesn't care whether or not we're talking about the speed limit. If there's somebody behind you wanting to do 95, you're supposed to get out of the way. It's a state law.
Get out of the way, let them do it. Yeah.
Right. Now, what is it in us that we do not understand we're creating a hazard for other people on the road? Because like you just said, there reaches a speed just because you can drive at 95 in a 45 mile an hour zone and everybody else
Well,
can't.
Joe, your old buddy
creating a
Jimmy is
threat.
fixing to give you a theory that I think you're going to slap your mouth with your hand and go, or your forehead, and you're going to go, my God, that's it.
Well, let's see, because I think I
We're
already have
always
this.
bellyaching among ourselves because our government schools have put us and our citizens in a condition of thinking where we are only range of the moment thinkers. So of course you're not going to be able to see as you're driving along in the left-hand lane purely in the range of the moment that you've got a bottleneck behind you. You're only thinking in the range of the moment.
All right,
That's
now,
the way
is that-
most of this population thinks now.
All right. Now, how I see that as the same thing I'm thinking, but I'm thinking, I'm taking a different, I'm looking at the same bird or coin from a different perspective. I think it's just utter selfishness. Inability to see anybody other than yourself. You're stuck in a room of mirrors and you can't see past the mirrors. And you have absolutely no awareness of the world around you as a result. I do
You once
believe
told
that
me-
is the product of our school system.
Yeah.
Or you don't
I
care.
don't know that I would assign it to selfishness, and here's why. And I'm going
Well,
to pick a
it
fight
doesn't
with my friend.
it doesn't
Joe.
have to be intentional selfishness. You can be selfish without even realizing you're doing that.
Yeah, every breath you inhale is for purely selfish reasons, and that's what I always fire off at these people that condemn
Yeah,
me
that's-
for being selfish. And,
That's
you know,
not
as
the
if
type
they're
of
a high horse, and
no.
they'll tell you there's nothing selfish about me. Oh yes, there is. Every bite of food you chew is selfishness.
That's not the type of selfishness I'm talking about here. Like
But
here.
we've got to distinguish that because selfishness now has been made a smear tag
All right, here, hold
by
on.
the Bolshevik left.
Clay Toller
like
says
racist.
so. Right, but now Clay Toller, he's got a comment that says so. A law-abiding citizen is supposed to bow down for a lawless citizen. Okay, well, like so the person doing the speed limit is supposed to make way for somebody who wants to speed. In the state of Florida, yes, because that's the law. If the guy behind you wants to go faster than you, it is a law to get over no matter what the speed limit is. Yes.
Yep. Well, that is the
Also-
purpose of that lane. That's why that extra lane was put there. So you would be able to pass without creating the hazards of oncoming traffic. That is
Right.
everybody knows that far left lane is the passing lane.
That's how it's, which means
So
you're
it's,
supposed to get your
yeah,
booty back
it's
over
not
to the
about
right.
the judge, the judgment of whether you're a law-abiding citizen and they're not. It's the fact that you're supposed to cruise in the right lane and use the left lane for passing and then allow
Right.
people to pass you if they're going faster than you.
The whole
and-
purpose is to keep traffic flowing.
Right.
So now here's my question. Clay Toller says that's promoting lawlessness. It is and it isn't, but you're okay. I might need to just defer to you and let you talk about what you were about to say. But here's what Mr. Toller is doing exactly what I was what I'm getting at. Just because first of all, a traffic law, speeding, that's not a law. It's actually a regulation. And when you get into the purposes of law, there's a big difference. There is a huge difference. A regulation has no natural law existence. It's put on you artificially. So the law here is being able to move from one place to another without overly influencing other people's ability to move from one place to another. That's the natural law, freedom of movement.
Well, we're outside of natural law now because neither highways
Yeah.
nor automobiles exist in nature.
And those were
You're in a
constructed
man-made
to
realm.
right. Those were constructed to assist in that natural law thing. But now, what I'm looking at when I say selfishness, self-absorbed, I don't mean Ayn Rand's idea of selfishness. That I have no problem with. I see that. That's self-interest. In my world, that would be self-interest. I call it selfish when your self-interest comes at the expense of all others around you, at the expense where they now have to pay a price for your self-interest. You can breathe.
Yeah, the phrase
without
that
it.
she actually used, Joe, that they conveniently drop half of it when they want to criticize her. She did not say selfishness. She said rational selfishness, and she was
Yes.
very clear about that. And everyone practices it. That's what inhaling air and chewing food is, rational selfishness. You go to work, you work a job so you can support yourself and your family. That's rational selfishness. And that's what she's talking about. But they use selfishness as a smear tag to attack all those things. So if you've got an individual who has capital, he pays the money to have a building built and have it stocked, and he opens a convenience store, and he hires a lady to come in and act as the clerk and the restocker and the caretaker of that store, and he pays her a fair salary upon the agreement of her and him, a contract.
Yep.
And she goes to work running that store. All right. She makes a salary off of it. He makes a profit off of it. A thug comes into the store, shoots the clerk, cleans out the cash register, and runs out the door. All three of those people were acting for selfish reasons.
Yes. But one of them was lost.
And that's why, and I mean, it seems petty, I know, but this is why I'm so adamant about this particular subject. When I was a kid, my mama used to accuse me of being selfish all the time. And it wasn't for anything bad or wrong that I was doing. It was just because I wanted to do something that she didn't like. And so she would tell me how selfish I am and how evil I was being for being that way. And I was simply doing something that was not wrong. It wasn't wrong in the family morals. She just didn't like the fact that I wanted to do it that way. Like, keep my money.
Yeah. No, I get that.
I guess it's put a bad flavor in my mouth for that smear tag.
Yeah. We've got another comment on the board.
Yeah, Jimmy, Clay Toller says here, there's a speed limit for a reason. And I don't know how much you know about how speed limits are created in the techniques they use to set speed limits, but maybe you could go over that a little bit, because speed limits they can actually be challenged. A speed limit in a specific piece of road, you might get you can actually challenge whether that's a valid speed limit or not. Can you speak at all to that from your understanding?
Well, let me describe this scenario. We have a highway up here that runs from coastal Georgia around the Brunswick area and ends up going into Alabama up around Columbus, Georgia, and it's called Corridor Z. It's a 4-lane divided highway all the way across Georgia. And in the rural parts of it, of course, now in the towns, it drops down to the 50s and the 45s. But in the rural areas where there's nothing but a grass median and pine forest on each side of the highway, typically it's 65 miles an hour. All right. We had one area over around Enigma, Georgia, where it was about 4 miles long. And in the entire state of Georgia, there were 2 places like this. One was around Enigma, and the other one was between Tifton and the Worth County line, where, for whatever reason, that highway was 55 miles an hour. And guess where you could always count on finding a sheriff's deputy or a state trooper sitting?
Right there.
Right there in that 55 mile an hour part of it. Yep. It's not a speed trap. They're still allowing 70 before they'll even pull you over, but you get accustomed to driving under those conditions at this speed limit. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, these 2 little areas doesn't have the same speed limit. So you ask yourself, why? Well, the state comes in and makes the correction on that. Now, that happened about 2 years ago, and they changed them both to 65. Well, the stretch over around Enigma is still 65. The stretch between Tifton and the Worth County line was quietly during the night sometime dropped back to 55, I've noticed. And what I found out was the sheriff of Tift County complained because they raised the speed limit there. Or some official.
Well,
But that's what, so the local community moved to the state to have that speed limit drop. So there's apparently is your standard and how the speed limits are set.
I used to know somebody who worked in civil engineering for the state of Florida, and he told me how they usually set speed limits. They'll sit there and they monitor the average speed of the traffic, and they'll set the speed limit according to the average speed of the traffic. And
It's called the 85th percentile rule. Yes,
Yeah.
that's where they start in determining.
that's how the
speed.
civil engineers
generally.
usually do that. But now to the
Right.
idea that
Yes.
speed limits are there for a reason, I present you with I-10 on West Texas under Jimmy Carter.
Right.
55 mile an hour
Well,
on
see,
I-10 under Jimmy Carter meant that you
Yeah,
had to
the,
carry a gas can on your motorcycle because you were not going to make it to the next gas station.
Yep.
Yeah.
The-
I've
The
driven in
interstate
Germany.
system was made for, the highways were built for speeds in excess of 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you've got to take other things into consideration. The amount of traffic on the road. And back when I was doing speed enforcement as a police officer running radar, I'm on a 4-lane divided highway and the speed limit's 55, and under my creed at that time, I'm pulling you over at 70. But if it's a real slow afternoon and there ain't nobody out on that highway but me and you, a lot of times I'm looking for 75 or 80.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
the same
I got my
highway
driver-
pouring. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say I got my driver's license in Germany and Bahn Autobahn. There's no speed limits on the Autobahn, and if you don't clear your rear, which means check the passing lane before you get out into it, you in trouble. And if you're
They'll
in the
run you
passing
over.
lane and somebody flashes their lights on, you better get your butt over to the right because they're going by you. But yeah, I mean. Generally speaking,
So they take it more seriously over there.
Yes.
Oh,
They-
yes.
They have
yes.
very, very strict vehicle inspections and stuff to make sure your cars are in good working order. And, yes, they do have some spectacular crashes sometimes, but in general, they're relatively safe drivers because people actually follow the rules there. You will not find somebody hogging the left line in Germany.
Okay.
Oh boy, no.
Let
They'll
me-
get pulled
let me-
over.
Let me put a hook in this one and drag it back to where I was trying to go with this.
Yeah, we got off on a
I know.
rabbit trail, didn't we? Actually, with squirrels more than rabbits, I think.
Like Clay Toller says, who wants to
It's
be on a
fun.
highway with some young person doing 80 miles per hour? This is the point that I was trying to make. We've gotten away from personal responsibility. It's selfishness.
Yeah, that's
I can do this, other people can't. I don't care, whatever. Here's a perfect point. Perfect point. Middle of the night. I mean, it's 2 a.m. You come up to a red light and it's stuck. And it won't
yeah.
change.
Yep.
You sit there
Yep.
for 5
Happened to
minutes
me more than once.
especially if you're in a motorcycle. Yeah.
and it says no right turn.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm running the light. There's nobody there. I look both ways. There ain't nobody on the
Yep.
road but me. I'm running. Well, I just broke the law.
Yep.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
No, you didn't.
Well,
First
no,
of all,
yeah.
it's a regulation, not a law. They work differently in a courtroom, as Mr. Zinker would probably know.
Yeah,
I
there's
know that
another element in these offenses called due care.
Bingo.
There's also
that's
an
the
element
point.
called there's also an element called good faith.
Right.
When I watched
That's
a
what
stop
I'm getting
sign,
at.
when I watched a vehicle roll a stop sign, I would consider not the scientific aspects of the stop itself, but did that individual use due care? If something had been coming, is it most likely that he's going to see it and not going to pull out in front of it? If the answer is yes, I didn't bother him.
So now here's my question.
That's how we lived in America.
You're on the highway, Jimmy, and you're watching the traffic go by. It's a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. And it's pouring cats and dogs, and it's got a lot of traffic on the road, and somebody's going down the road doing 80. What's going to happen to that hammer knocker? He's going to get
gonna
arrested,
hide
I
you
hope.
clean.
Right, but I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to go after that one. That one you won't. What if he's doing 70 in this? Everybody else is slowed down to 45, got their blinkers. I mean, it's raining. and he's still trying to do 70. It's the legal speed limit, but is he traveling legally for those conditions? No.
A lot of times he's going to get, at the very least, a prayer meeting when you get into stuff like this.
Right.
And this is why, now I don't know how it is today because everything's done by computer, but in my time, we were carrying the old metal clipboard with the uniform traffic citations in the clipboard. And there was something on that citation that I had to fill out if I made a case against you. Conditions. Was the traffic heavy, medium, or light? Were the roads dry or wet? Was the road, paved and improved, or was it dirt? All of these things are taken into consideration. And I would say, I would contend that comes back to that virtue that I mentioned earlier, moderation.
Yes.
Justice is the acknowledgement of all the facts of reality.
Yes. And that's the part where I'm getting at. Just because you might be able to do it doesn't mean everybody else around you can do it. So if you're a NASCAR driver,
we've degenerated to a point where we get a ticket in the mail that's not even a traffic citation; it's a civil lawsuit, and you have to prove you weren't driving the car. They don't have to prove that you were.
And that is so unconstitutional. I don't even want to get going on that one right now. Different show, but that's what I was getting down to. You've been hitting on this. You're using different terminology, but you're saying the same thing. It's rational self-interest. Yes, I got that. I'm talking about the point where we, as a society in conglomerate, we've gotten to the point where that's the only thing we care about. Irrational self-interest. We no longer realize or acknowledge that we're part of a community and we have responsibilities to those around us. If you
actually, I think
want
the
to acknowledge
that you're in is something Cicero wrote about becomingness versus unbecomingness. Becomingness which is in accordance with the superiority of man in those respects where his nature differs from that of other animals.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a law against it, but it's unbecoming in our ability to logic as human beings, like walking through public areas with our britches, 2/3 of the way down our buttocks. There may not be a law against it, but it's just not the right thing to do. It promotes ugliness.
Yeah. Also, real quick, like Clay Toller said, there's a thing for too fast for conditions as a ticket. Yes. I was in the insurance industry, and I came to find out real quick, we dealt with the traffic laws more than the police officers do. We knew them better than they did because we're dealing with liability. You're going to find that there's a thing in almost every state's traffic laws comes down to that, what Mr. Toller was talking about here. Do responsibility to the conditions at the time. Just like, you might not realize this, folks, but if you're driving down the road and you've got this little thing called a cell phone in your hand and you're playing with it, that's a DWI if the officer wants to push it. You're driving while impaired.
Yeah.
That's going to be more than just a traffic ticket for, I was on my cell phone. That one's going to affect your insurance in a big way for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it, but at least in the state of Georgia, if you get pulled over for speeding and you realize you're going to get a ticket, no ifs, ands, or buts, if you can talk that officer into writing you for too fast for conditions instead of a speeding ticket, it doesn't go on your record. There's no points.
Yeah. So this is why I say that your traffic laws are regulations, not laws. And it does make a difference in court. A law has to be enforced according to the law. There's more room for interpretation with a regulation, and there's more room for going above it or under it. So the law said 70. Yeah, but it was raining cats and dogs, but the law says 70 miles an hour. So I was doing 70. You can't give me a ticket. A law, he's correct. Regulation is a different thing. Okay.
You're going to still do 70 miles per hour if you've got a jogging marathon going on in the middle of they're using that highway?
No, that'll get you put in jail real fast.
Yes, sir.
So, and that's what
they're not violating the law and doing what they're doing, especially if they're doing it under permit. So, but the law is 70 miles an hour. Is that what you're going to do?
We live in a world where we don't even understand these things anymore. They're not taught. So, like I was telling my wife just this last weekend, when I went to school, they taught us the hand signals for a bicycle, and they taught us that the bicycle, if you're on the road, you have to obey the laws of cars. When's the last
The
time that was
bicycle
taught to
subject to the
anybody in
same
school?
laws.
Yes.
Oh gosh. No.
I ran into this. Hold on, folks. I ran into this. I know we're long today, but I was an insurance adjuster for Progressive. I had one of my insured was coming out of a parking lot to make a right-hand turn into traffic, 2 lanes going right, a center lane, 2 lanes going left. He didn't bother looking right. And he pulled out, and a bicyclist on the sidewalk coming the wrong direction hit his car. And they tried to tell me I had to accept responsibility for this. My insured was the car driver. They said, you got to pay for the bicyclist. No. And my team leaders and all were like, Joe, just do it. It'll protect. No, I will not accept responsibility for my insured. He was not at fault. He did nothing wrong. That bicyclist is not allowed on the sidewalk. Not by the laws of Florida, especially going in the wrong direction.
Especially
My
going
insured
around-
was
gosh.
under no reasonable reason to have to look right. He had looked long enough to know that there were no people there. He was not under any expectation to expect a bicycle doing 15 mile an hour down that sidewalk to have hit him. And that is part of where the bicycles get themselves in trouble. They are lawless now. And people don't realize you're under the same rules as the car.
Oh yeah, I see it everywhere, and I just chuckle and shake my head. What can you do? It's by design. They've made our society this way.
All right.
But how many
Here's-
cops actually pull over these bicyclists that are doing this stuff?
They
I mean,
don't.
they don't.
They don't.
They should.
Clay Toller says the laws are not for the offender. They are for the innocent people to keep them safe. It's basically morality. No. A law is for the offender. Normal people don't need the laws. Like Mr. Zinker was saying earlier, you and I both know not to go rob each other. We know not to murder each other. We don't need the law. The law is specifically for the offender. The law tells the offender, this is the area you are allowed to operate within without punishment. This is the area that you operate without. That'll get you punished. These are the moral
law.
precepts.
Yeah,
'Cause
go
if the
back-
law was meant to
Let's go back to the subject of burglary and the law against burglary. If the laws against burglary stopped you from committing burglaries, we would have no burglaries.
Yeah.
The law
Exactly.
is not there to stop the burglar. The law is there to give the burgled an avenue to justice.
Mr. Toller, let me put it this way. Remember what Paul says. The law was never there to make you holy or to save you. It was to teach you to run to the one who could. The
Yeah.
one who grants mercy and grace. The
Yeah,
law
go watch
works
my
the same
sermon
way
from
in our
Shabbat.
world. Yeah, the law works the same way in our world. The law sets down the framework within which you punish the lawbreaker. And the laws, and this is what the founding fathers said. If that law is not in accordance with natural law, it is not a law. So, there are many things that we consider laws in our world today that the founding fathers would ignore.
Mm-mm.
They wouldn't even take you to court to they'd just say that's not a law. They would wipe it away. That's not a law.
One of which being the income tax code.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Or they
Let's-
wouldn't have made it unconstitutional otherwise.
So this has gone way long
Way long, but it's been fun
because
It's
I've been
fun.
enjoying the heck out of this. We got to
And
do
let
this
us
more
know-
often.
Let us know, audience. Let us know. Did you enjoy this? And that kind of thing. Send us comments, emails, and stuff. And maybe we can encourage Jimmy to come on here and do a show with us. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
we'll have to do that again. It's been a long time and I
Yeah.
really enjoy it myself. And I apologize for totally discombobulating your show today. I just wanted to make a simple comment about a flock camera. But
Mr. Toller just
I
said
will
that
leave
we're
you, I
not
will
allowed.
leave you with this though, because this was one of the highlights of my policing career.
Stop. Jimmy, you can't go anywhere yet. Hold on. There's a comment on the board. Mr. Toller just said that you're not allowed to have a weapon that fires more than one round at a time. He said we're not allowed to use the internet for free speech or the printing press. Well, wait a minute. We can use the printing press, but we can't use any form of mass media that didn't exist at the time of the founding, because he said that there wasn't any vehicles doing 80 mile an hour back then. So y'all, Mr. Toller, do you see the fallacy in what you just said? You're using specifics against a principle.
Yeah.
That don't work. That's legalism, Mr. Toller.
The top
Don't do
speed
that.
of a- The top speed of a 1989 Dodge Colt Vista is 115 miles an hour downhill with a tailwind. I know that because I drove one in Germany on the Autobahn.
So, and Mr. Toller, you know we're friends. I'm not trying to pick on you. What I'm trying to get you to see is not to make that law into the source of right and wrong. There's a higher source. It's either going to be natural law or revealed law. There's a higher source. How fast
Ban,
did that
ban,
knock you?
Autobahn.
All right. I didn't
I
mean
always
to cut
tell
you
people,
off.
you know, these people want to take away officer discretion. They want to be policed right by the exact letter of the law. And I always tell them, like my granddaddy would have told me, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Yeah.
Yes. And you got to
And
be
if,
careful.
you know,
with that.
you think you've got a problem going in public now, wait until you give them absolute authority
Oh, yeah.
and completely
Or-
remove any vestige of the classic virtues that we
or you
were
run
living
into
under
a
for 200
progressive
years.
police officer, and the word means whatever he wants it to mean at that moment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I didn't mean
your
to cut
book
you
for
off
that is a
earlier,
book titled The Gulag Archipelago. But Joe, I'm going to leave you
Yes.
with this, because maybe now you'll understand why I got this phone call. Back in 1990, I got a phone call from an insurance adjuster, what you used to do, and it was in reference to a double fatality wreck that I had worked, wherein both drivers had been killed. And so there was the only person that survived the wreck was a woman who's the daughter of one of the drivers, and she had the mentality of a 12-year-old. She couldn't tell us anything. She was a special needs. And I spent 2 weeks investigating that wreck before I finally closed out my investigation. So I get a call from this insurance agent, and he said the only reason he was calling me was to tell me that he had been an insurance adjuster for 30 some odd years, and that this was the only accident investigation of that severity that he had ever seen, where he absolutely had no questions after the fact, and neither did the insurance representative for the other driver. Now you understand why I take these things so seriously. That's what the police officer is for, and that's what the investigative
Yes.
process is for, right there.
Folks,
That's
if
the
you
way it
don't,
should be.
if you've never dealt with this, I can tell you from handling many police reports, most police officers don't give a rat's rip about doing that.
No, they do
will-
not.
Do not.
I've seen police reports that got it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And when I saw, all I
Oh,
needed
yeah.
to see was the two vehicles to know that they got the report wrong. Because the vehicle will often tell an investigator how the wreck happened, just looking at the damage on the vehicle.
Mhm.
And you'd be surprised how poorly done these police and how much information is missing from them. I don't mean to disparage police officers, but at the same time, that's your job, man. Do the job.
Yep.
I know it's boring. I know you don't like it. You can
the driver-
do the job.
Yep. The driver that caused that wreck was a 17-year-old kid. He crossed the center line in a curve and hit an oncoming vehicle head on. I went so far as to go to his place of employment, which was on St. Simon's Island. The wreck happened on Colonel's Island, about 15 miles away. I went to his place of employment to his time clock, and I called dispatch and told them to start to establish a time check on me at that moment. And then I walked from his time clock to my police car, got in it, drove it to where the accident took place, called dispatch and asked them to end the time check. And I got the distance and the time it took me to drive it. And it was exactly the same as his, and I did the speed limit all the way. So speed limit wasn't the factor.
Okay.
Now that's getting into your investigation.
Yes,
And what
'cause
I
that's the type of
ultimately
things that your
determined was
insurance
the kid
adjuster
simply
does.
fell asleep behind the wheel.
Yep. Your insurance
He
adjusters.
stayed up late the night before watching basketball, and he fell
Yep.
asleep.
Your insurance adjusters will often do that type of level of work because that's what our job is. We determine liability in those accidents. We get to be pretty good at it. So,
Yep.
And then me,
Well, that was my objective, was to literally leave nothing for them to do.
I never once in the 4 years I did it, I never once saw a police record like a report like that. I had several of them where I gave the officers a hard time because they left things out that should have been there. And then when they found out that former military and blood didn't bother me, I got all of our fatalities, which are usually really complicated. That's the one time the police officers usually do real good work, but even then they leave things out. So
yeah, we had several officers at Glenn County PD at the time that had gone and got the schooling for that kind of investigation and loved doing it. Jim Kelly was one of them. Burt Medlin was another one. They did good work. But when I went to on-scene accident investigation, that's a 2-week course, and it's where you get into the basics of time, distance, and all the mathematics.
Yep.
And I got back, I graduated towards the top of the class in that 2-week course. And I get back to Glenn County PD, and I went to the assistant chief at the time. And I told him, I said, if y'all will give me a pager, I will stay on call 24/7 and I'll work all of the fatality wrecks in this county. I told him, I said, I just love doing this kind of work. And he says, I don't know. We kind of don't like you boys to work wrecks after y'all do those accident wreck schools. It takes too long for you to turn in the police report.
Yeah.
When he said that, I mean, he may as well. I tell people all the time that was the beginning of the end of my career that day.
Yeah.
That was when I began to get enlightened.
Yep. Folks, I could do a whole show on how bad your traffic stuff is. There's a last story I'm going to tell, Charlie. Hold me to this. Here they redid the bridges to Panama City Beach on the way to Panama City Beach, and there's a light, the first light you encounter as you cross going west on Highway 98 onto Panama City Beach. They had just made that light green, and we had a whole bunch of accidents within a week's time right there, and all the drivers were telling us, well, I had a green light, I had the green, so they were hitting each other, and everybody's claiming they had a green light. And I'm like, that can't be. So the police officers were assigning liability, and I had no way to prove one way or the other who was at fault because of the police reports. So I got permission to go down there, and I sat there for like 45 minutes in the sun one day watching the lights. There was one particular place in the northeast corner of that intersection. I could see the light going east and west, and because it was on the opposite side of the stoplight, I could see the light for the people going north and south all at once. And I had the camera ready, and I sat there for 45, and then all of a sudden they were all green at the same time. And I said, click. And I took that, and that had to go to the Florida Department of Transportation. There was a glitch in that timing. It was possible for all the lights in that intersection to be green at the same time. How do you assign liability in that case?
Oh, wow.
Because these are areas where people could have been,
lies with who set up that red light.
Yes, and we're talking about, Jimmy, we're talking about an area that is 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. So people were coming down off this bridge. They were doing 55, 60, 65 mile an hour through this intersection. Yep. This was dangerous.
Yep. And how many people were written tickets for running a red light because a police officer was commanded by his superior in an office that when he works a wreck, he will find a liability and write a ticket for it.
And that's what happened on a lot of these reports. And I got to thinking, and I was looking at them, and I was like, this is not possible. So I got permission to go down in there and hang out one day. And it took me 45 minutes, the middle of the freaking summer, in the middle of the day. And then I got that picture. All the lights were green.
Wow.
So things happen, folks. Unless you've got somebody who pays attention and cares about their job, you don't find these things. It could have taken forever for people to have figured that out. It was one stupid idiot who just said, this doesn't line up, and went and sat down and did something that my team leader thought I was wasting the afternoon. Everyone was shocked because that just doesn't happen. Yes, it does. And the Florida said it's not possible. The circuitry, it did. It happened. I had the picture.
Could have been faulty circuitry too.
There you go. But what are you gonna do with that picture? You can't. I didn't fake it. It was a Polaroid picture, baby. Click. There's handheld old Polaroid. There is no digital altering a Polaroid picture.
Right.
So that is incredible, Joe.
And that's why we use those old cameras. So hey, All right, let's get out of here. Jimmy, I appreciate this
We're an
call.
hour over today, so but thanks, Jimmy. This has been great. I've enjoyed it.
Bonus
All
time.
right, brother.
Thanks
Well, I
to
hope
Mr.
somebody
Jimmy
else out
Zinker.
there enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed the conversation. It's all food for thought, whether you agree or disagree. You know,
Yes,
keep
and
an
that's the
open
point.
mind on it.
Think. Yes.
Yep.
All right, folks.
All right.
Let's get out of here. We appreciate you all joining us. We are long. Thank you for being here. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, share the show. We know that I'm an acquired taste. Tell people about me. I don't care. I know I am. I'm a recovering narcissist. I will be forever. And most people, whatever, tell them. But hopefully you'll also tell them I do my best to bring you the receipts and give you the stuff that you need to track. Check it out for yourself. We're here to help you learn how to think for yourself and encourage you to do so. So tomorrow, back in Genesis. Wednesday, I don't know yet because we've finished Jeremiah. I'll probably share some more things that I've found with you concerning the scepter and the birthright. Oh boy, will that be good. Thursday, I might be dwelling back in the Founding Fathers because I am all over the Declaration of Independence and certain other things right now. I might actually share with you excerpts from a speech that Calvin Coolidge gave 150 years ago. Oh my gosh, was that good. Talk about the total opposite of the progressive movement. He would have fit in with the Founding Fathers like a hand in a glove. So we'll see how this all goes. So until we see each other again, we thank you for being here. We love you. Y'all stay safe. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.